Shalom, Kol Halal Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakah Kradash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders and the bishops of Great Millstone, and Shalom to you, hopefully elect beloved brothers and you few sisters. Peace be unto you in these last days, because we're truly living in the end times. You know, the power that we serve, he gave me a dream this morning, and I've been up ever since, just thinking about the dream and mulling it over in my mind. And, just a variety of precepts came to mind. And bear with me, should or if I get a little choked up retelling this dream, just simply because of, I wasn't choked up by what happened. I was more so surprised, if you will, by my son, who essentially in the dream, the Lord showed me he came around to the truth. All right. And let me say this while I was surprised, because my son, currently right now, my son is in the world. He has those damn Shiva Jatas on his head. He's running around, he hangs with a group of guys, he's, running out the women, so on and so forth. And his mind right now isn't on the truth. All right. Okay. But let me come from this here, because in the dream, and I'm going to come back to that photo there, and I'll delve into the dream completely. In the dream, the current home that I reside in, was raided by the FBI agents, pardon me, and they look literally identical to these men here. Okay, like I couldn't find or look for a better photo that fits the description of how those men look that raided my current home that I live in. But this is a part of prophecy. And for those of us who are of the hope of the elect, this is why the scripture tells us to love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. Because this current world, this current age is passing away along with its desires, right? Nothing we have in this life are we going to be able to take into the kingdom. Not even these new bodies, not even these bodies. Our bodies are going to have to be changed, right? But how do we know that this is true according to prophecy, according to the scriptures? Well, I want to start here in 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, in the 70th verse, and read down. It reads this: But there shall be in every place and in the next city a great insurrection. And insurrection is referring to Jacob's trouble, a time like never before seen upon the earth. But look at the states here: upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none. And who is the they that the scriptures are referring to? Esau, Edom, the Edomites, the modern day so-called white man. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Those of us who are of the household of faith, right? That 1/3, that grape of a cluster, but continuing on. But they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be tried as gold in the fire. Hear, O ye now, my beloved, saith the Lord. Behold, the days of trouble, Jacob's trouble, are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Be ye not afraid, neither doubt, for Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is your guide. Now let me come from this here, and I want to go back to that photo, all right? Because again, I'm just using the photos that I saw that exemplify, how those men, they just swooped in there. When I tell you, they came in there out of nowhere. But let me take a step back. I'm jumping the gun a little bit. So the way this dream started, the dream started, and I'm looking at my son, and the reason I was so surprised, because he cut his hair. He actually had on a garment in the dream, and him and a couple of other guys, they were ready to go and teach the truth, and I was so elated. I was so excited that he had finally came around. All right. Okay. And I think I might have mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. We don't know the effect, that we have on our children. Even if we don't think they're paying attention to us, they're watching us. My son sees me, reading, studying, watching videos, all these things, and he's seen me do this for years. So you never know the effect that you're having on your children, and you don't know if your children are going to come around to the truth in these last days. But as for now, I've already dealt with the acceptance of, potentially I might just have to get my son back in the kingdom. But nevertheless, continuing on, in the dream, my son, he cut his hair, he has on a garment, he's ready to go and teach. And I remember stopping him before he walked out of the home we currently live in. I said, look, man, you have to be serious about this truth. I told him, put on this truth in your mind. Take it deadly serious. All right. I admonished him and I also encouraged him. And he walked out of the house with the younger guys that he was with to go and teach. And I remember he leaves the home, and shortly after he leaves, I remember going to sit down in my office, which has a big bay window. And while I'm sitting and I'm looking out at this bay window, when I tell you, brothers, beloved brothers and sisters, this is exactly how those men looked that swooped in. There had to be maybe 15 or 20 of them. And when I tell you no knock, no, they didn't ring the doorbell or nothing. They just kicked in the damn door. There was a number of them that went upstairs. There was a number of them that came downstairs. They were raiding the home. They were tearing shit up. They were just going through everything. I remember, I guess he's the commanding officer. I remember asking him for a search warrant. And I'll say this too. When all this is happening, I was extremely calm. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't afraid. When the scriptures tells us this wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of thy times. And the reason that I was calm in my mind in that dream is because I knew the Lord said that this would happen to many of us. All right. But I remember asking for the search warrant, and the commanding officer, I suppose, he told me where it was, and I picked it up. And I remember them just asking me just a number of questions. But what was strange is that I remember them asking me about, offshoot camps that we are not affiliated with, right? And I just remember them telling them straight up, hey, look, I don't know these guys. And then as they're sort of ravaging through, my home, I remember looking back across the living room at my wife, and she was scared, she was afraid, but I remember giving her a firm look, and I just nodded my head at her like, hey, you know what time this is, you know what this is about. And then the dream ended. Now, I want to come from this here, and I want to go back to the scriptures, all right? Because again, this is all a part of prophecy. And should we be of the elect, we're going to have to persevere and endure these times. And the power that we serve, trust and believe, he's going to lift up a standard. And how do we know? This is the book of Isaiah, the 59th chapter and the 19th verse, and it reads, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun, when the enemy shall come in like a flood. You see, even Esdras saw this in 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, all right? But continuing on, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. Trust and believe, man. If the Lord is giving us dreams of the enemy coming in like a flood, then he's bound by his word. He's going to lift up a standard. Let me go to that definition of the word standard, all right, in the blue letter. Let me come out of this, because we here at GMS, we go into the Greek, we go into the blue letter, we go into the Hebrew, we go into all of these things. Remember, the scriptures tell us to study to show thyself approved, a workman who needeth not to be ashamed, all right? Let me go to that word standard, or should I say standard shall be lifted up, and it gives us this. Bear me 1 second. Let me zoom in on this.
Strong's H 5127. Noose.
And by definition, it means that standard that the Lord is going to lift up, he's going to give us the ability to flee, to escape, to take flight, to depart, to disappear. All right? This is the power that we serve, man. Okay? And say, for example, if some of us are taken, all right, because it is prophesied that this dragon not only is going to come down with great wrath, but some of us are going to be thrown into prison as well. But first, let me grab Revelation, the 12th chapter and the 17th verse, and it reads, and the dragon, again, that dragon represents Esau, Edom, was wroth with the woman. The woman represents Israel, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. And the remnant of her seed is the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahushai HaMashiach. And what's the testimony of Yahushai HaMashiach? The Spirit of the Lord is the spirit of prophecy, going into the prophecies, telling our people what's coming upon the whole earth, giving them warning, all right, of things to come. Let me come from this here. Let me grab Revelation, the 2nd chapter and the 10th verse, and it reads, this is what our Lord told us. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. And why is that, Lord? Behold, the devil, who is Esau, Edom, the Edomites, all right, shall cast some of you into prison, that ye might be tried, and ye shall have tribulation for 10 days. And that's not, a literal 10 days. It's just going into an amount of time. But look at what the Lord tells us. Be thou faithful even unto what? Death. Because some of us are going to be faced with death. But listen to what the Lord says, all right? And I will give thee a crown of life, man. When those agents swooped in, they literally came in out of nowhere, man. They didn't knock, they didn't ring the doorbell, they just bum rushed the whole fucking house. They tore the damn house up, and I was completely calm. And even in the dream I was thinking, the Lord told me that this would happen, all right? Okay? The time of our redemption, it has to be close. Keep pushing, keep believing, and keep the faith. Shalom.